Hi friends, Cole here and
Carolina.
and we're so excited to start this Love Yourself Up series and challenge. So we talked briefly last time about why we're doing it, so we're just going to kind of jump in.
Okay, so we're going to start first of all with acceptance. That's our topic for the day. And we want to start with that because there's no way that you can start any journey without knowing where you're at right now. You need to really be, oh, I'm here, therefore I can go there. I can be able to move forward to whatever you're wanting to go. So we decided that acceptance is the very first element for a journey of change, a journey of transformation to really learn to love ourselves up.
Yeah, and it's not, it can be challenging. One of my teachers used to say, and it really stuck with me, that the quality of your life is directly correlated to the quality of the questions that you're willing to ask yourself and answer. So some of the questions may feel a little challenging, so whenever we start really digging deep and things that aren't comfortable. So it's being willing to go kind of towards some things that are uncomfortable, because you have to be able to see them in order to begin to make any change around it. So really on acceptance is that we're wanting to
be radically honest with ourselves. So we were talking before about doing a sort of moral inventory of where you are at the moment. Like, honestly, what things are working in your life and what things are not working, and be completely honest. I know, as Cole was saying, can be super confronting at times to be, oh my God, if I really sit for a second, take a breath, and ask myself, am I happy with my life right now? What things are really working and what is like, oof, actually that's not really cool. It's not going well. It can be a relationship with yourself or another person. It can be your job. I don't know, your house situation, whatever it is, if you are not willing to really drop the mask, because we like a lot these days to be like, everything is perfect, my Instagram is perfect, look at my life in social media. But many times we're just playing, it's just a facade, many times. So the moment we're like, okay, let's be honest, let's make this inventory, like, okay, what's going on? This is my life. I like this, I like this, I like this, I'm proud of this. This is not really working. What am I gonna do about it?
Yeah. And just to touch on something that you said about how we always tend to say, like, oh, everything's fine. We really live in, I think, like, the Western world lives a lot in not wanting to show any issues, like, not ever wanting to talk about anything. It's always, I'm fine, I'm fine. Whenever I was growing up, and I would always say that to my mom. And I was always in trouble, or something was always going on with me. You know, when I still lived with them in my teens. Crazy teens. And I would always say, though, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's very clear, obvious that I wasn't. And I continued that mantra on for a long time of not wanting to share. We feel like it's a burden or it's not going to be heard.
It's hard to be vulnerable. It's about that.
It is. And not only to other people, but then to ourselves. Like,
exactly.
We don't want to admit to ourselves that this isn't working. We're not happy.
Ouch. It's like that Elizabeth Gilbert quote that I can't remember exactly how she says it, but like there's no like major life change transformation that can happen without someone getting really done with their bullshit, with their own bullshit. Like if you're not willing to be like, oh my God, this is not okay. I'm like done with my whatever patterns, stories, or whatever is not working. If you're not really like, okay, I'm done with this, I'm over this, like I need to change it. And for that, you need radical honesty.
Yeah. So really looking in, so I guess for myself.
For myself.
I guess we're just going to like spread some stuff out. Right up on the internet.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? So some of the questions that we had wrote down are, you know, where am I not fully grown, and where are parts of me that need some growth? And this can be in relationship with ourselves, relationship with other people, with like work relationships, with love relationships, social life, passion, all different types of arenas there, and we have that all written down for you. You can look at it a little bit deeper, but I think some of the areas in my life that, and I've spoken a little bit about this, is that I really need to, what I'm really working on is coming more into presence. That I feel like I am not optimizing my relationship with other people due to me like multitasking in my mind, or thinking that like, I need to be thinking about this, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing this, and I'm not really present with what's happening like right in front of me. And it's been like this for like the last year, and probably longer than that, but I've really noticed it this past year, especially when I'm traveling all these beautiful places, and I absolutely love it, but then often I do not feel like I'm actually there.
That's super.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
I'm not really enjoying this moment.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I really want to be really present in my relationship. So I'm not really fully showing up, which is something that is challenging to admit. That I'm not fully showing up in terms of with all of my presence. So something that I definitely want to work on.
That's a really big one. For me personally, for example, it's been, matcha for the win. Currently, it's, I had this story about myself that I had to be perfect all the time at everything. And despite many things not really going perfectly in my life, I came to be okay with that. It was like, okay, maybe this relationship is not perfect. Okay, I'm going to be okay with that. And I will normalize some things and accept, because it's part of the process, right? But I just noticed that there are many, because of this need to be perfect, I wasn't fully allowing myself to be myself, if that makes sense. I was just like playing games. And
a role or something.
A role, yeah. So instead of like showing as myself, with my truth, with my values, with everything, I was trying to control some things, manipulate some things, and it was really hard to be like, ooh, actually I was trying to manipulate that person. Ooh, actually I was trying to get something out of this interaction. And own that has, in a way, opened up the possibility to be, oh, I'm actually not the best person. I can be, can I curse? Shitty sometimes, you know? And instead of playing up the game of being delusional and avoiding my reality of like, no, I'm perfect. Like, it's your problem. It's like blaming and projecting, you know? It's like this, whatever relationship is not working because it's what you're doing. And it's like, actually, I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I just didn't want to see it, right? So owning that part and then really accepting it has allowed me to really move forward, to make changes in my life so I can be actually a better person that is more in alignment with my integrity and my values and all that. So that's why we were talking about having acceptance as the foundational layer, the, how you call that when you build a house, like a slab?
Architecture.
Yeah, the slab where you are going to build everything up. It needs to be radical acceptance, and for that you need to be super honest, even if it's like, oh my God, I'm saying this, and that's me, oh my God, you know? Super important.
Yeah.
And yeah, and from that space we can grow, like we were talking about that, like which areas we need to expand and grow on. Because we're inviting ourselves and you, everyone watching this, to this journey of like loving ourselves up. We know that the destination is a place where we're gonna be loving ourselves more, better, harder, I don't know, you know? Yes. So,
more yes.
More yes. For that, that's the destination, and for that we need to know where we're starting. So for that, I invite again to be like, okay, I need to be super sincere right now. What's going on? Where do I want to grow? What do I need to like acknowledge so I can change?
And it can also be, you know, you're also acknowledging and accepting the things that you feel fluent in. You're like, I'm a really good whatever it is. Like I'm a really good
communicator.
listener, or I'm like really loyal to those who I love. Yeah, so it's seeing kind of all sides of it. So you're just kind of like parsing it out, like looking at all the ingredients for what you feel is would be an expansive, happy life, and then seeing what you need more of. And I think really importantly, to do it with a lot of patience and a lot of kindness, because some things we're going to be like, ooh,
Whoa.
that doesn't feel good. And then also you have to really watch going into, if you're going to start like feeling bad about it, going into a shame spiral, Brene Brown calls it. Because often whenever we notice something, we notice emotions coming in and out. We all are capable of all the emotions. But if I realize that I have anger coming in, or maybe I'm reminiscing about like, oh, I was really angry with this person. Because we have anger doesn't mean we're an angry person. Or because I have sadness coming through my field doesn't mean I'm a sad person.
Don't identify with emotions.
You don't have to identify with it.
Yeah.
So whenever maybe you find some things that don't feel aligned with who you want to be, it doesn't mean that that emotion
that you
or whatever it
that
is
person.
consumes you.
Yeah.
Right. Like that is just, it's a fluid piece and we're just noticing. So I think that's really, really important to fluidly look at all of this. These are attributes and traits that are shiftable, but they need to be identifiable.
Yeah. But don't put yourself that label of like, oh my God, I'm a bad communicator. Oh my God, I'm not the best friend, and I'm that. No, it's just like this element is present, and I can witness it, I guess, from above, and be like, oh, okay, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm willing to change it. I'm opening myself up to that transformation.
Yeah.
To cultivate more of the yummy stuff.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like how she said the bird's eye view, looking at a bird's eye view. I think in one of my videos not long ago, I did Garuda Mudra, which is, Garuda is the eagle. And to do that, you take the hands like this and you bring the thumb pads or the thumb webs together and twist it in. And do meditation, meditate like this sometimes. And so Garuda Mudra, it is helping to have that perspective, to gain a bigger, a bird's eye perspective.
Where you don't buy into the stories. You
We're
just
not binding.
become a witness. But at the end of the day, that's like what meditation does, like at the essence, right?
Right.
Just be able to be like, oh, okay, like get yourself out of that space, like almost become like an objective witness as much as we can, so we don't buy into the stories and don't suffer through them. Like, oh, I've done something wrong, I'm a bad person. No, you've done something wrong and you're willing to change. It's all cool.
Another thing that I've done in years of different, like 12-step programs, really. One thing that really helped, though, in this and was in the 4th step. Did y'all do that in codependency?
Mm-hmm. Same.
So I've been in and out of 12 steps. I don't really work with it that much, but I think that there's a lot of good aspects of it. And but one is talking about whenever one way that we can do this, I'm just like mumbling. We find something that we're resentful for, things that make us angry. We can like acknowledge and bring up. It's pretty quick to see the things that are frustrating in other people and those around us. Sometimes it's harder to see it in ourselves. But so find those resentments, those things that are challenging, and then be like, what is my part in this?
That's exactly what I was
Somewhere, in most cases, and not all, in most cases, we co-create dynamics. We co-create unhealthy dynamics in toxic relationships. It's not normally one person. And even if you can find just a little sliver of something that you are responsible for, it allows it to disintegrate. The resentment begins to disintegrate. And it is not an immediate thing. But it's, again, acceptance is also another word that we could use, which we haven't, is the self-responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
And that's empowering. It's empowering. So it's not like I'm just going to like make a list of all these things that I don't like about myself. It's like, no, like, I see this and this and this, and I'm going to work through this and be able to expand in these areas.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
beautiful and empowering.
through that empowerment, you really can get more into freedom. Like it's really, really, really liberating. Especially when you've been going through like a cycle of pain, like toxic relationships, or I don't know, you're not feeling really fulfilling any aspect of your life, and you've been blaming for a long time the circumstances, the other persons, like our victim stories, like, oh, this is happening because this happened when I was younger, whatever the story is. The moment we can actually, as you were saying, stop and do this inventory of like, oh, these are my resentments, and you're like pointing the finger, but then you go like, okay, actually, this is my part on this. You can become self-responsible, and from that space, it changes. Like you drop the victim role that I feel like many of us are super like,
look what's been done to me.
Yeah, it's so easy because it's easy, it's comfortable, it's familiar. Like, oh, my life doesn't work because this guy did this, or because my mom raised me this way, or because my dad wasn't present, and all these stories. It's easy, and it keeps us playing small in this little container of familiar and comfort, and like, oh, poor me, right? But the moment you're like, okay, all these things that I'm like blaming other people, that my life is a mess or it's not working because of these circumstances, is usually because we have a really big role in all that. And the moment we can say that and really, really, really own that, you're like, okay, that means that I can be responsible for that to be transformed. It's my responsibility. And from that space, you can empower yourself. Take better decisions, you know, make changes in your life. And from that space, again, you become freer because you start living your life, not the life that you were, you know, like replaying again and again and again, like an old, how you call those, vinyl? Records, you know, like, and you're like, why I keep attracting the same guys over and over again? It's like, well, sweetie, it's about us. It's, all the time, self-responsibility.
And quickly, I'll bring up this this idea of samskara, which is it's a repetitive pattern. So it's something that we've done. It's habitual groove, something we've done so many times that we don't really even think about it anymore. Like if Carolina sneezes, I'll say, bless you, or something like that. If I hold out my hand to shake, she'll probably hold out her hand to shake. It's something that we don't really think about. It's an automatic thing. So some things are good. Like if I walk across the street, it's probably good that I've learned to look both ways. But then there's also things that we can do that become not so beneficial in our lives. Things that we don't even think about. And these are these patterns that we just do. They're these unconscious patterns. And they're really, really challenging to change because we don't notice that we do them. So it's the self-inquiry that we begin to notice, like, what I didn't realize that, you know, this is always my response whenever somebody acts like this, or this is always my go-to, or whenever when I feel something challenging, I tend to blame. Or when I see something challenging, I tend to go into victim. Because there's certain roles that we play. There's like victim or villain or hero. There's certain things that we do that we might not even realize that we do. But you have to begin to unwind and ask, because they can't be shifted. These grooves are so deep that, you know, water flows in the path of least resistance. So it will continue to go that way until, like, oh, we have a leak or something.
Let's put this rock here.
Dam it up and then go the other way. But you have to realize that there is that there's a leak first. So
yeah, definitely.
But a few of the things, and we'll write this below, but a few of the things that we put to check in with, and we'll put this in the description as well, and add your own ideas as well.
That's like the premise of this specific video. Acceptance is the first and only requisite for change. Boom.
Boom. So some of the questions would be, you know, looking into relationship to self. One kind of analogy I like to use, metaphor or analogy, I always get those two mixed up. Like, okay, so Carolina, if I made a date with Carolina and I just didn't really like feel like going, or something came up, I would still going to show up because I respect her and she's my friend and I respect her time, and I would still show up, and then we'd always have an amazing time. But with myself, if I'm like, okay, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to meditate and then I'm going to work out, I break those dates all the time. All the time I break those dates. I'm like, no, I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it whatever.
I don't have time today. I'm too busy.
Right.
Even though you know that that's so important and beneficial for us.
Right. So how do you break dates with yourself? How are you dating yourself? So that's a really good one to check in with. Whenever I realize that I'm like being really integral with my word, I am with my friends and those who I love. I'm quite in integrity there. Then that's something I've had to work on its own in the past. But I'm still not with myself. So anyway, check that out.
So our idea was we're gonna write down all the like this sort of prompts or the exercise to do at home in the description of the video. But the basic idea is to just look at all the areas of your life that are important to you and check that and be like, okay, how am I showing up in full integrity with this? Is this working? Is it not working? It can be in your work life, in your relationships with your friends, with your family members, with your coworkers, with love, with sex relationship. They're not together always, you know? So I think it's super important that we make this, I don't know how to pronounce this word. Is inventory? I've said it like 4 times in the video.
Inventory. Carolina's from Chile.
I'm from Chile, yeah.
And she speaks awesome English.
I do. What else?
Great. Well, we'll, like we said, we'll add this in here. So looking forward to getting, to hearing some of your responses and stuff. So add it in the YouTube comments, and we'd love to hear from you. So it's really important to share this because it gets easier and easier, and then easier to talk about, you know, your feelings, whatever's coming up.
And I think it will make like a better society for real, you know, because I will make put the example again of social media, but we're so used to just show the shiny, beautiful, edited, with a nice filter parts of ourselves instead of like, I don't know, who you truly are. And that makes it easier for us as a society, as a community to, I don't know, support each other, show up for each other. Be like, okay, depression is not like a horrible thing, so like...
Destigmatizes.
That's the word, thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Destigmatizes. Because you're like, oh, I'm this, or I'm feeling this, or whatever. And it just allows other people who might be hiding behind that same thing, but like not willing to share, then it allows them to connect with you by being like, oh my gosh, me too.
And it lives...
Yeah,
go, sorry.
That's the kind of well, it is kind of what I do whenever I'm sharing sharing about my addiction and my past with my addiction. Is whenever I share this, so, you know, I talk about it quite often, then other people, it allows them to not be as shameful around it, or to reach out and say, oh my gosh, yes, me too, I understand. And these are normally things that we don't talk about. So you never know who you speaking up, even in a YouTube comment, or sharing this, you know, with your friends, or sharing this, you know, with people in your community, what that allows other people to drop their defenses, to drop the mask. So this isn't, we do it for us, but it's a ripple effect. It's a butterfly effect.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's exactly that. When you share about your vulnerabilities and your like difficulties or challenges, it lifts the weight not only for you, it takes the weight out of your back, not only for yourself, but also for other people, because they're like, oh my God. Especially, for example, I don't know, like, again, because society always like wanting us to like show the best part of ourselves only and edit the rest and cut it out. Many times we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect and young and fit and everything, you know? And then someone like comes and say like, actually I feel super insecure today, or I've been battling with anxiety or stress, or I doubt myself a lot. It's hard for me to make decisions. When someone says that, you're like, me too, so I'm not so fucked up, or I'm not so crazy, or, you know, like, it gives space for everyone to be more relatable, create deeper bonds, and, destigmatize.
And if you even want to go a little bit deeper, you can also think about, like, where did these beliefs come from, or some of it? Because I just noticed, I was just thinking whenever Carolina said that, that I always say I'm fine, or that things are okay. It's like a lot of us probably came from a family or a society to where you don't talk about your issues, or you don't talk about your emotions or your problems, So it's not like then, it's just realizing the more you know, is like a PBS tune, the more that we can kind of unwind it and be like, I see, that's where that came from. Or sometimes I'll unwind stuff and be like, oh my gosh, I remember now that my whatever happened. Like I was thinking the other day in terms of, I always tell myself I'm not creative. And I think that something had happened in an art class, that like a teacher had told me something, or somebody told me something about my drawing or whatever. And I really internalized that and like just kind of ran with it. But just realizing, like, that's a story. Like, I'm not 6 years old. I'm not like 6 years old anymore in the art room or whatever the story is. But you can begin to unwind, and so it's just interesting.
But if you share that with me, I would be like, if you never say that to me and you continue showing up, not that you're doing that, but if someone will show up always like this strong person that has, I don't know, her life together and teaches yoga around the world and runs retreats, I would be like, she's super creative and she's so tapped into her creative flow and she's always like making magic happen. I would have never thought that you have that idea of yourself. But if you come to me and you're like, actually, I have this struggle and like I feel like I'm not very creative, I will be like, oh my God, me too, awesome. And like, like it's different. It creates like a different environment for growth, I feel.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Connection. Shared humanity. Okay.
That's it for today.
That's it. It's so hot. We're sitting, by the way, we're sitting in my bed in Bali.
I'm sweating buckets.
I only have AC in the bedroom. Everything else is all open air, which is wonderful, but it's so hot and it's in the afternoon. So we're just sitting in my bed. The AC is right there. So that's why you might be wondering why.
Let's be authentic. We're sweating so much right now.
I'll show you my view from my bed. So I wake up, and I have this mosquito net, and then I look outside. It's beautiful. So this is my view from my bed. Isn't that nice? And then my dirty room.
I have to follow you because of the mic, babe.
And over here too. Not bad, huh? So yeah, okay. Probably right up our nose, but okay. So love yourself up. We look forward to
day 2
reading your comments.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah,
and we'll most definitely.
Tomorrow. Peace.